if you want to pay for your own, US, Canada is more or less the same. Because the school fees will be similar. Will be 15,000, just like in many colleges in the US. What will be able to change is the cost of living of city you are going to study. Even in the US, if you are studying in California, or in New York, or in Virginia, or in Maryland, or DC, the cost of living is higher than the cost of living if you live in Missouri, Kansas, Ohio, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, Texas, South Carolina, whatever those other southern states, Mississippi, all those states will be cheaper. But if you want to pay for your own, that's why I usually people, why do you need to study in America to pay school fees 50,000 and the cost of living 10,000, for instance, 25,000 per year? Go to Norway, go to Finland, where it is free. There is no school fees. Then you are going to pay for cost of living. They need to have at least 15,000 US dollar to put in the bank. And when you arrive there, they'll pay back your money and you'll be able to work. Why do you need to start paying extra? The education in America and education in Finland or Norway they're all educated. I mean, they're all developed first world countries. So if you want to pay for yourself, don't go to Canada. Canada will pay school fees. The difference in application between Canada and the US, Canada doesn't have GRE and GMAT in many universities. But you have to pay you have to take the English proficiency test, and you have to pay application fee. And most of the application fee for Canada, the cheapest one is $85, majority are $100. But still, all other procedures are the same. So, for me, the cheaper is to go to Europe, and especially go to Scandinavian countries if you want to pay for your own education. Because in Finland, Norway, most of the Scandinavian countries, they don't have school fees. They don't have tuition fees. That means you'll be in a position to be able to pay just cost of living expenses, and you'll be able to work up to 20 hours per week, just like here in America. But in America or Canada, you will pay school fees, or if you go to England, for instance, you will pay tuition fees, and you will pay the living expenses, apartment, food, books, transportation. You'll be able to incur all this type of costs. So, choice is yours. If you have the money and you have the requirements, better to use 2,000, invest 2,000 into taking the exams and apply as many scholarships as possible, 20, 25, 30, so that you can be in a position to get at least one, than paying 25,000 for one school academic year, then another school academic year, the same amount of money. I don't give that is a good advice. So, yes, I know some people, they like Canada because we hear a lot of stories which are not true about Canada. People are saying, Canada, if you go there, the jobs are everywhere. Who said jobs are everywhere? Yes, jobs are there. Do you have a work permit? That's number one. As a student, you're not going to work as a full-time. Just like in the US, just like in any European country. You don't go there and work full-time, you work as 20 hours per week. That's the requirement. Minimum job per hour, Canada, US, Europe is almost the same. Living expenses, Canada and the US is almost the same, depending on which city you are. But we usually tell, Canada, there are few people, the country is big. Yes, the country is big, but there are certain places, there are certain areas, there are no anybody lives there. Just like in the US, you can go miles and miles, there is empty, nothing. It's still big. You can even buy 20 acres for 1,000 US dollar, because there are certain places there just like a desert, nothing's there. You can buy the land. For what purpose? To have the land? So those are the things you need to understand. The Canada part, I can agree on aspect that it is easier if you study in Canada to transition to be given permanent residence of Canada. But not just, it is cheaper to get, it's easier, it's cheaper to go to become a student in Canada. No. The process for applying, the process, if you are paying for your school fees, the cost of school, the cost of living will be all more or less the same like in the US. The only difference is in the US, once you graduate, yes, you are given 1 year, what you call OPT, optional practical training, to practice, but you don't necessarily to be given permanent residence. But in Canada, it is easier to apply for permanent residence of Canada if you have studied there. Because first of all, even if you haven't studied in Canada, they have a merit-based immigration. If you have bachelor degree, master's degree, PhD, you are getting certain type of points. Your age is going to give you some points. And then if you have lived in a first world country, gives you extra point. If you have work experience in a first world country, like in Canada itself, you have extra point. So for that case, if you have studied and worked in Canada, it is easier after graduating to get a job, to get a permanent residence of Canada than if you graduate in US to get permanent residence of the United States of America. That is what I can tell you is the big major difference between these two. But Canada is not cheaper as you can think, is the same, just like in the US.